Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a good weekend. Hope the portfolio did some work for you. I hope your positions have done well and you're looking forward to the week ahead. Should be absolutely massive. Last match day of this round of the Champions League and Europa League, which will be very pivotal, if I can say that, to some of the big clubs around Europe and some of the big players around Europe as well. Okay, so hope you're bearing that in mind, the fixture list, where we're at, what we've had, what's coming up. Sip of juice there for the working man. If you're watching this on your lunch or listening to me on the train or something, that was for you. The video today, guys, we're going to call it how to make up a strong portfolio. Okay, so I've been kind of playing about with these numbers and the kind of terms and everything for the last kind of 2 weeks or something, and I'm pretty confident in how I've made everything up. And what I've did is I've based the comparison on my own portfolio when it's been strong and went well, how I normally like to identify things and how much money I want to allocate towards certain positions, and then I've kind of cross-referenced that with external sources outside the Football Index, you know. And this is basically what I've got. First of all, if you look at the footy, it's up again. We've broke the 68,000 mark and it's going up and up and up again. This is what we've got here. Pieces of the pie, I've called my wee note. Okay, so on the left hand side we've got 4 percentage brackets. Okay, and then on the right hand side we have a list of types of positions, types of players, types of holds that you will be attracted to, or you will be buying, or you will be seeking out. Okay, now the important thing and the first thing to start off the bat, as you read through that list, there's not really going to be too much there. There's really rocket science, high risk and low risk, high cost and low cost, safe, gamble, whatever, right? But the important thing to understand, right, which a lot of people struggle with, and this is me, been on index now for a year, right? And this is the one thing a lot of people do struggle with, is there's so many different types of positions you can be involved in. Okay, some players will probably fall into a few different categories depending on what's going on in the world and what's just happened and what's going to happen. But for you as a Football Index player, as a gambler, as an investor, however you want to call yourself or look at yourself, you have to understand that list there on the right, it is going to be nigh on impossible, if not difficult, for you to have a worthwhile chunk in each category, if that makes sense. So what you need to do is prioritise what stimulates you, what makes you excited, what motivates you, and what you see as good value on the index. Okay, so if we start at the top, okay, the 2 bread and butter ones, high cost and low cost, safe hold. Okay, let's think of an actual example. Okay, so a high cost safe example, sorry, I meant to go into the app rather than, yeah. So a high cost safe hold would be somebody really in that top 10 bracket. Okay, yeah, well, let's just say top 5, okay? So your Messi's, Mbappe's, Neymar, Pogba, and then you get Sancho, Hazard, Rashford, Salah, Kane, you know, that kind of group, top 9. They're all quite expensive holds, and they're relatively safe. What makes them relatively safe? Well, they have high potential for media, they have high potential for PB bonuses on match days, and in the first 30 days you hold them, they've got high potential for goal and assist bonuses as well, okay? So that's what makes them safe, okay? As time ticks on, what makes these guys valuable is going to be there for the long term, you know? So Mbappe isn't going to become any less prolific. He's not going to score, you know, much less goals. He's not going to be in the media any less. Same with Pogba, with all the attention he gets, and Neymar, you know? So that's what makes them an expensive safe hold. A cheap safe hold is somebody I would call maybe like David Silva, just as an example. Okay, so David Silva versus Bernardo, he ticks the same box as well anyway, £3. Has David Silva dropped out of the top 200? Silva, sorry guys for all the profanity. Silva, he has, wow, dropped out of the top 200. So 229, wow, he's running a bit of a downward. Very, very cheap. He plays a lot of games for Man City. He's always in the mix for PV bonuses, goals and assists. He's one of these guys who's always in amongst it. He's having a great season, he's had a great career at City. Okay, so he's relatively cheap. He's not too expensive, and for what you're looking for from a player, you know, he can return and offer you something back on that. Okay, and it's actually, and as you can see, guys, the level he's been at since the PB bonuses for goals and assists, he's consistently been over £3 for between July to really about February or something. So that's a good half of the year, you know. So yeah. So anyway, safe and low cost. high and low cost safe holds, okay? Players that you're not relying on anything that's current, you're not relying on current affairs, you're not relying on media speculation, you're just relying on them being them, okay? That's what makes it a safe hold, okay? You've got high and low risk gambles, okay? So these are players who, excuse me, sorry guys. A gamble, guys, is something that you are relying on something turning, something out of the ordinary happening, you know, like their form picking up, them knocking out a team in the Champions League, them getting a, I don't really want to say transfer as such, because that kind of comes into the next category, which is speculative, okay? But speculative, guys, we want to be more thinking about. So in terms of gambles, okay, who can we think about in terms of gambles? In terms of high cost and low cost. High cost is definitely our boy Greenwood, okay? He's really popular now, but the reason I say he's a gamble is because his price does not reflect really anything that he has done, you know? It's just all hype for now. He might not break into the Man United team properly, he might get a couple of games, he might not be up to scratch, you know, they might put him out on loan, you know, absolutely anything could happen. And then a low cost would be somebody like somebody in a similar position, maybe like a Tammy Abraham or, you know, something like this. You know, he might not get in the Chelsea team. You know, it's not likely, or it's not a certainty. You know, so it's a gamble. You're really gambling on people like that. You know, me with Mason Mount coming back to Chelsea and getting in the team and that type of thing as well. Okay, high and low cost speculative. Okay, so high cost speculative would definitely be somebody like Luka Jovic or a João Felix, okay? So you're speculating that they are going to continue to rise because of what's going on around them, okay? So you have to accept with speculative purchases that there will be volatility, and you look at the amount of blue lines that are on Jovic over the last week. They're doing pretty well in Europa League, which is nice. And if you look at Felix as well, certainly over the last month, when you're holding speculative ones, there's going to be lots of movement because people will lose interest and things might change. And if say it's about speculation about some sort of development, them breaking into the team or them moving on to another club or any this type of thing, then you have to accept that there's going to be movement on that as well, okay, in the short term. But then get research and development. If you've been on the channel for a while, you remember I had a bit of an R&D fund for goalkeepers. We had some Ter Stegen and some Handanovic, and you know that worked out pretty well. But sometimes you might want to try something different. You might find yourself, you only buy players in the qualifying leagues, you know, Spain, Italy, England, Germany, that type of thing. But you might think to yourself, I want to put some money into somebody who's out the picture and just see how that goes. And you know, it might be something you want to try your hand at. You've then got instinctive there, so that's just something you've got a gut feeling about. You're looking at somebody on the index and you're just thinking to yourself, you know, that is a winner. For whatever reason, you know, there could be a million and one different reasons that might pull you towards somebody, but somebody who continually tracks your attention. And this is gambling, guys, and it is a game, you know, so there has to be an element of fun involved, you know, and if you've got a hunch, you know, you've got an instinctive feeling about somebody, then you might gravitate towards them, you might be putting some money on them, okay? We then have circumstantial, so I'm thinking again like your Kingsley Coman, your Duvin Zapata, you know, the fixture list, the way they go, their price just drops off a cliff for some reason. Circumstances have been presented to you, you look at it and you see the current circumstances of the marketplace versus that player and how attractive they are, how appealing they are, and you see it as too good to be true. We've then got flavour of the month, and again some of the players we spoke about, you could probably pop into that, like your Mason Greenwoods and, you know, previously gone Kai Havertz and, you know, these types of people, Cameron Hudson-Odoi, Vinicius, Sancho, Rashford. They're just hot. They're going up every day, and you just want to get a piece of the action. And then you've got at the very bottom there, below market value. So for whatever reason, people just are dumping them. You know, they're moving their money elsewhere. They might be attracted by one of these other categories that we're discussing, and for some reason they might just be dropping below market value to a level where you're like, Jesus, they are just too good to be true, how cheap they are, and you jump on it, you take the rise, you move them on, kind of thing, okay? So they're the main categories that I have identified, okay? If there's something that you think, do you know what, has not really been touched on here, and you just want to add it to the list, and drop it in the comments below, guys, would be much appreciated, okay? But we'll go through that list there, and then we'll look at the percentages again on the left, okay? Now, if we're thinking about all these different types of players, if you were just to buy one of each, for example, you'd have to have a pretty small portfolio to make it those percentages fit, okay? But what you need to think about is what type of game are you playing, what type of player are you going to be, and that's how you're going to allocate those percentages against one of those categories, okay? So, as an example, you might be in this for the long haul, and you might be thinking, you know what, I'm hiding my money from myself, I'm saving it up, I'm going to do something with it in a year, or it's just like me to keep it away from the bookies and keep it away from accumulators. So 30 to 45% of that, I'm going to put that on a high cost safe hold, okay? So 45% of your portfolio, you're going to be putting that into Pogba, Neymar and Mbappe, okay? You might spread it across 3 positions, but they still fit one category, if that makes sense. Or you might just put it all on Pogba, or something like that, all on Messi. But just to, that's the whole point in explaining this to you guys. Just because you've got a category identified doesn't mean you can't have multiple players in that category. Kind of hedge your bet a little bit. You then get between, let's say, Pogba, Neymar and Messi, you then get 3 players, high cost safe holds. They're taking up a fair portion of your portfolio, but they play across different competitions, Ligue 1, La Liga and the Premier League, so you've then got different days of the week they'll be playing, more chances for different things to happen, different national teams as well, depending on who you're talking about, and that kind of thing as well. You then might want to look at it and go, right, okay, well, between 20 and 30% I like to have on like a high risk gamble or a low cost speculative. And then when you identify these players into these categories and then you assign them to a percentage, it really helps you make sure your portfolio is doing the work you want it to do. If you're just in this to gamble, guys, like like as if it was an accumulator or something like this, you might go 45% on an IPO, somebody who's just new to the market and you're just going to hell with it. It's just instinctual, where it's a big gamble and I want to win big in the next 3 months. I want to really turn this money around, and I am allocating that money against that. But I'm then going to counterbalance that by having 15 to 25% of my money in a really safe position, high or low cost, it's up to you, depends on what tickles your pickle. You then keep 20% floating about from that 20 to 30 bracket for circumstantial purchases, things that just come up that are just too good to be true, and then you might have 10% for something that's just below market value, guys. Okay, so I just wanted to bring this to you, and hopefully you can use this and I adapt it, guys. It's not an exact science, but this type of thing has worked for me in the past, and like I said to you in previous videos, I'm really comfortable with small portfolios, and when I have had smaller portfolios in terms of the amount of players, the number of players I've had, I've only really had 2 or 3 different holdings, but I might have like 35-45% all on one player, like Sterling or a Sané or something like this, that I deem a high cost safe hold, and then I've then got 30% into somebody like an Aubameyang, and that type of thing, guys. And that's how the portfolio for me has really worked well over the last year, when I've been very clinical and analytical about how much money I'm allocating to certain positions and what sort of positions are they, what kind of return do I expect over a 1 month period, a 3 month, 6 month, and that depends on what category they're in on that right hand side. If it's a high cost safe hold for maybe 10% of your budget, you want to be playing about with something that's just circumstantial, it just pops up, somebody's just dropped off a cliff for whatever reason, you want to jump on it, then it's totally up to you guys. But as I say, feel free to use this as a kind of skeleton, and you can put the meat and the bones on it in terms of how you want to allocate things and how you want to dive about with it, okay? But it's really important on Football Index, guys, that you have a clear strategy towards how much money you allocate towards certain positions. And it's not just a player like, oh, I like Aubameyang, or oh, I like Hazard, or I like Mbappe, but understand who they are, and what they offer you and your portfolio, guys, okay? So just a quick one today. Again, please subscribe to the video, guys. Like if you liked it. Comments below, anything you would add to the list, anything you would take out, any feedback you want to give on this type of thing that's worked for you. You found that doing X% on that type of player, just get involved, guys. I'm going to do a video shortly with the interactions I've had over the last month, because I've had some amazing interactions, and some of you guys have been picking some great players and some great positions, guys. You are doing really well. So a video this week, we're going to look back at the interactions we've had and really highlight some of the subscribers and the guys that are interacting in the videos for all the good work they're doing on their own portfolios, okay? Stay out of trouble, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.